There is a weight that comes with being chosen. It's not something you ask for, and it's certainly not something you can run from. When God places his hand on you, when he sets you apart for something greater, it comes with a price. And one of the first things you will notice on this journey is that the crowd gets smaller. The people you thought would walk with you, celebrate you, support you, they start to disappear. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because the call on your life is different. Being chosen means being set apart. It means walking a path that few will understand. And the reality is, loneliness is often the first sign that God is pulling you into something greater. See, when God is getting ready to elevate you, he isolates you. He pulls you away from the distractions, away from the noise, away from the comfort of familiarity. Because if you are too surrounded by people, too connected to opinions, too dependent on validation, you will miss his voice. And when you are truly chosen, his voice must be the loudest one in your life. Some of you are wondering why your circle has shrunk, why the invitations have stopped coming, why the friendships that once felt unbreakable now feel distant. You're asking yourself, did I do something wrong? But I want to tell you today, it's not punishment, it's positioning. God is positioning you for what he has prepared for you, and not everyone can come with you. Some people were only assigned to your life for a season. Some relationships were never meant to go the distance. And when God starts to separate you, don't fight him. Don't chase after what he is trying to remove. Because where he is taking you, you can't carry unnecessary weight. Have you ever seen an eagle? An eagle doesn't fly in flocks. You don't see them gathered like pigeons in the streets, pecking at crumbs, fighting over scraps. No, an eagle soars alone. It rides the wind, climbing higher and higher because it was created for the heights. But do you know what happens when an eagle tries to take something too heavy with it? It struggles. It loses altitude. It risks falling. Some of you are struggling because you're trying to keep what God never assigned to your destiny. You're holding on to relationships that are too heavy, friendships that are keeping you grounded, connections that are draining your strength. And you wonder why you feel weary, why you feel broken, why you feel like you're barely making it. But God is saying, let it go. Let go of the weight that is holding you down, because you were never meant to live at low levels. See, when you are chosen, you are called to a higher place. And not everyone can handle that elevation. Some people loved you when you were on their level. But the moment you started to grow, the moment you started to step into purpose, the moment you started to change, they backed away. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they were never built to go where God is taking you. And that's okay, let them go. Because the truth is, when God is taking you somewhere great, he will strip away anything that could sabotage your destiny. I know it doesn't feel good. I know loneliness can be painful. I know it can make you question whether you heard God right, whether you're really on the right path. But I came to tell you today, don't despise the isolation. Don't resist the separation. Because in this season of loneliness, God is doing something deep in you. He is strengthening you, preparing you, molding you. He is teaching you how to walk alone so that when the time comes, you won't depend on people to validate what he has already declared over your life. Moses had to go up the mountain alone to hear from God. Joseph had to be thrown into a pit and placed in a prison before he could walk into the palace. Jesus himself had to go into the wilderness alone before he stepped into his ministry. So why do you think your journey would be any different? Why do you think being chosen comes without a cost? Loneliness is a sign that you are being set apart. And being set apart means that God sees something in you that is worth investing in, something that is worth protecting, something that is worth preparing. So instead of mourning who left, instead of resenting who walked away, start praising God for what he is about to do in your life. Because when he finishes with you, you will understand why the crowd had to thin out, why the relationships had to shift, why the road had to get lonely. You were never meant to fit in. You were never meant to blend into the background. You were never meant to stay in the comfort of the familiar. You were chosen. And chosen people don't walk the easy road, but they walk the road that leads to purpose. So if you feel lonely right now, if you feel like everything around you is shifting, don't be discouraged. God is setting you up for something greater. And when the time comes, when he has finished the work in you, you will look back and realize that every lonely night, every silent season, every moment of isolation was God's way of preparing you for the place he always intended you to be. God's pain has a way of breaking you in ways you never imagined. It strips you, humbles you, and leaves you standing in the middle of your life, wondering if you will ever be whole again. And yet, what if I told you that your breaking is not your ending? What if I told you that the very thing you thought would destroy you is the thing God is using to shape you? See, when God calls you, he doesn't just place an anointing on you and send you straight to the promise. No, he takes you through a process of refinement, a process of pruning, a process of breaking. Because the truth is, God doesn't use people who haven't been tested. He doesn't elevate people who haven't been crushed. He doesn't send out warriors who haven't first been wounded. Before God can trust you with the promise, he has to prepare you for the weight of it. Some of you are wondering why you're going through so much pain. Why it seems like every time you take a step forward, life knocks you 2 steps back. Why it feels like God is stripping you instead of blessing you. And you're asking God, where are you? Why am I going through this? But I came to tell you today, you are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being abandoned. You are being refined. You are not being broken for nothing. There is purpose in your breaking. Look at a diamond. A diamond doesn't start out shining. It doesn't start out beautiful. It begins as coal, covered in dirt, hidden beneath the surface where no one could see it. And in order for that coal to become a diamond, it has to go through extreme pressure. It has to endure crushing, breaking and heat beyond what it can handle. But if the coal could talk, it would probably say, why is this happening to me? Why am I being pressed so hard? Why am I being put through this fire? It would feel like it was being destroyed, when in reality it was being transformed. Some of you feel like you are being crushed right now. The pressure is too much. The weight of your circumstances is unbearable. You don't see how you will ever come out of this. But what if I told you that you are not in a season of destruction, but a season of transformation? What if I told you that God is using this pain to turn you into something greater than you ever imagined? See, pressure only breaks what is weak, but it refines what is strong. If you are going through the fire, if you are feeling the weight of the crushing, it means that God sees something in you that is worth refining. Look at Joseph. God gave him a dream, a vision of greatness, a vision of leadership. But what happened after the dream? He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused and locked in a prison. His journey was full of breaking. But even in his breaking, God was with him. Even in the pit, he had favor. Even in the prison, he had favor. And when the time was right, God raised him up to sit in the palace. But the palace wasn't his training ground, the pit was. The prison was. The suffering was. Because by the time he reached the promise, he had been tested, he had been tried, and he was ready for the weight of what God had prepared for him. God does not elevate people who have not been through something. He does not entrust great assignments to people who cannot handle the breaking that comes before the blessing. That's why you can't despise the season you're in. You can't resent the process. You may not understand it now, but one day you will look back and see that God was preparing you the entire time. Think about an olive. The only way to get the oil out of an olive, it has to be pressed until what's inside of it is released. And the anointing that is on your life, the power that is inside of you, can only be released through the crushing. That's why you can't avoid the breaking. That's why you can't run from the process. Because if you are going to walk in the fullness of what God has called you to do, you must be willing to go through the crushing. Some of you are in the middle of your breaking season right now. You feel like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. You feel like life has hit you so hard that you don't even know if you'll recover. But I want you to hear me. God is not breaking you to destroy you. He is breaking you to bless you. He is breaking you to build you. He is breaking you to make room for the person you are becoming. You cannot step into a new season with an old mindset. You cannot carry the weight of the next level with the weaknesses of the last. So God will strip you. He will remove the things in you that cannot go where you are headed. He will allow situations to expose your weaknesses so that he can strengthen you in the areas that need to be built. David was anointed to be king, but he had to go through the wilderness before he could wear the crown. Paul had to be blinded before he could see the truth of his calling. Even Jesus had to endure the cross before he could step into the fullness of his purpose. So why do you think you can reach your destiny without a season of breaking? I know it hurts. I know it's confusing. I know you wish you could skip this part of the process. But if you skip the breaking, you will not be ready for the blessing. If you skip the crushing, you will not carry the oil. If you avoid the fire, you will not be refined. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, God, what are you preparing me for? Instead of saying, God, take this away, start saying, God, give me the strength to endure it. Because the same fire that destroys straw is the fire that refines gold. The same pressure that breaks weak things is the pressure that strengthens those who are called. And if you are going through the fire, if you are feeling the weight of the crushing, you need to know that it is not for nothing. God is making something out of you. He is preparing you for something greater. And when the breaking is over, when the refining is complete, when the process has done its work, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more anointed than ever before. Because what the enemy meant for evil, God will always turn for your good. There is something different about you, and you know it. There's a reason you don't fit in. There's a reason you can't go where everyone else goes, why you can't settle for what everyone else settles for. It's because God has placed something inside of you that sets you apart. And anytime God gives you vision, he gives you the burden of carrying something that others cannot see. It can be frustrating to have a dream so big that no one around you understands it. It can be exhausting to try and explain what God has placed in your spirit to people who don't have the capacity to grasp it. But when you are chosen, you have to accept that not everyone will see what you see. Not everyone will understand your hunger, your drive, your desire for something more. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself seeking validation from people who were never meant to confirm what God has already spoken over your life. Some of you have been struggling because you're waiting for approval. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to step out. You're waiting for your friends to cheer you on. You're waiting for your family to support you. But when God gives you vision, it is not up for debate. It is not up for discussion. He didn't give it to them, he gave it to you. And that means you have to be willing to move, even if you have to move alone. Think about Noah. God gave him instructions to build something that had never been built before. He told him to prepare for something that had never happened before. And while Noah was out there building, people were laughing. They were mocking him, calling him crazy. Because when you have vision, it often makes no sense to those who are still living by sight. But Noah didn't stop building just because people didn't believe. He didn't quit just because no one else saw the rain. He kept going because he trusted what God said more than what people thought. And when the rain finally came, those who doubted were unprepared. But Noah was ready. Some of you are in a season where God is telling you to build. Build your business. Build your ministry, build your dream. But because you don't have the applause, because you don't have the support, because no one else sees what you see, you're hesitating. You're second guessing yourself. You're waiting for confirmation from people who don't have the capacity to confirm what God has given you. But faith is about moving before you see it. It's about trusting that if God told you to build, the rain is coming. And when it comes, you will be ready. Look at Joseph. He had a dream. A dream that one day he would be in a position of leadership. A dream that God would elevate him. But the moment he shared that dream, his own brothers turned against him. They didn't just doubt him, they hated him for it. And that's something you have to understand. Not everyone will celebrate your vision. Not everyone will be happy about what God is doing in your life. Some people will be intimidated by it. Some people will feel threatened by it. And if you are not careful, you will start shrinking yourself just to make other people comfortable. Joseph went from the pit to the prison before he ever got to the palace. And in between, he was lied on, forgotten, and overlooked. But just because people forgot about him didn't mean God did. Just because people didn't believe in him didn't mean God changed his mind. Because when God puts something inside of you, no amount of rejection can take it away. No amount of betrayal can cancel it. No delay can deny it. What God has spoken over your life will come to pass. But you have to be willing to endure the process. The burden of vision is that it often requires separation. You cannot walk into something new while clinging to the old. You cannot step into purpose while still seeking the approval of people who were never meant to go where God is taking you. Some of you are trying to bring people with you who don't have the capacity to handle your assignment. You are trying to explain things to people who were never meant to understand. And the more you try, the more frustrated you become. But I need you to hear me today. Stop trying to make people see what only God can reveal. There are some places God is taking you that require you to walk alone. There are some seasons where you will have to trust him without a crowd cheering you on, because faith is not about walking with the majority, it's about walking in obedience. And sometimes obedience will make you look crazy. Sometimes obedience will isolate you. Sometimes obedience will require you to move when you don't have all the answers. But if you trust what God has spoken, if you hold on to the vision he placed in you, when the time is right, you will see the manifestation. Look at David. He was anointed to be king, but he wasn't crowned right away. Instead, he found himself running for his life, hiding in caves, wondering if what God had spoken would ever come to pass. Some of you feel like that right now. You know what God promised you, but everything around you looks the opposite. You know what he placed in your spirit, but all you see is opposition. And if you're not careful, you will start to believe that just because it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to happen. But delays do not mean denial. Just because it's taking time doesn't mean God has changed his mind. The burden of vision is that it requires patience. It requires faith. It requires you to trust that even when you don't see it, God is still working. That even when people walk away, God is still moving. That even when doors close, God is still opening the right ones. And when the time is right, when you have been processed, when you have been prepared, when you have been proven, you will step into everything God has promised you. So if you feel alone, if you feel like no one understands you, if you feel like you are carrying something too big for the people around you to handle, know that it is because God has set you apart. And when he sets you apart, it is because he is calling you higher. He is calling you deeper. He is calling you into something greater. Do not shrink. Do not settle. Do not let the doubt of others make you question what God has already confirmed. Keep building. Keep believing. Keep moving forward. Because when the rain comes and when the vision manifests and the promise is fulfilled, you will understand why you have to walk the way you did. And when that moment comes, you will see that every lonely night, every difficult season, every moment of doubt was all worth it. Because God never gives vision without fulfillment. And if he gave you the vision, the manifestation is coming. Rejection is one of the most painful things you can experience. It cuts deep. It leaves wounds that take years to heal. It makes you question your worth, your purpose, and even your identity. But what if I told you that rejection is not the end of your story? What if I told you that rejection is often the clearest sign that you have been set apart? Some of you have spent years trying to figure out why certain people walked away, why certain doors never opened, why no matter how hard you tried, you never seemed to fit. You thought it was a curse. But what if it was protection? What if the very people who rejected you were actually pushing you toward your destiny? What if the doors that closed were actually keeping you from something that would have destroyed you? What if the rejection you cried over was really God's way of saying, I have something better for you? It's hard to see it in the moment. It's hard to see the blessing in being left out. It's hard to see the purpose in being overlooked. But when you are chosen, rejection is part of the process. When you have been called to something great, you cannot expect to be embraced by everyone. You cannot expect people to always understand what God is doing in your life. Because when God marks you, he also separates you. He removes you from certain environments. He blocks certain opportunities. He allows people to walk away, not to hurt you, but to position you. Because where he is taking you, not everyone can go. Look at Joseph. His own brothers rejected him. The people closest to him betrayed him. And some of you know exactly what that feels like. You know what it's like to be hurt by the very people you thought would always be there for you. You know what it's like to love people who do not love you the same way. You know what it's like to give your best only to be met with disappointment. And it hurts. Because rejection doesn't just come from strangers. It comes from family. It comes from friends. It comes from the people you trusted. But hear me, just because they rejected you does not mean God has forgotten you. Just because they turned their back on you does not mean you are alone. Joseph was rejected, but he was never abandoned. His brothers threw him into a pit, but God had a palace waiting for him. They stripped him of his coat, but they could not strip him of his calling. And when the time was right, Joseph looked back and realized that every moment of rejection was actually leading him closer to the fulfillment of God's promise. Some of you need to stop crying over the people who left. Stop mourning the doors that closed. Stop begging for acceptance in places you were never meant to belong. Because if they walked away, they were never meant to stay. If they closed the door, it was never your door. If they rejected you, it's because God had something greater for you. And I know it doesn't feel good now, I know it hurts, but if you could see what God is preparing for you, you would wipe your tears and start rejoicing. Because the people who left you thought they were burying you, but they were really planting you. Jesus himself was rejected. The very people he came to save turned against him. The very ones who should have recognized him mocked him. He was despised. He was misunderstood. He was abandoned. But even in his rejection, he never lost sight of his purpose. He never let the opinions of people stop him from doing what he was called to do. Because when you are chosen, you cannot afford to let rejection define you. You cannot afford to let it make you bitter. You cannot afford to let it make you shrink. Some of you have allowed rejection to make you doubt yourself. You've allowed it to make you question whether you're really called, whether you're really anointed, whether you're really worthy of love. But rejection is not a sign that you are unworthy. It is a sign that you are set apart. It is a sign that you have been chosen for something greater. It is a sign that God is redirecting you. And if you could see what is ahead, you would thank him for every rejection. You would thank him for every closed door. You would thank him for every time someone walked away. Because the truth is, some of the people you wanted in your life would have been a distraction. Some of the places you tried to stay would have kept you stuck. Some of the relationships you fought for would have drained you of your purpose. And because God loves you too much to let you settle, he allows rejection to push you into your next season. Rejection is painful, but it is also necessary. It teaches you to depend on God. It teaches you to find your identity in him and not in people. It teaches you that your worth is not defined by who accepts you, but by the one who created you. Some of you have spent too long trying to prove yourself to people who were never meant to recognize you. You have wasted time trying to earn approval from those who will never see your value. But if they could not see it, they were not meant to. If they could not appreciate you, they were not assigned to your destiny. David was overlooked. When Samuel came to anoint the next king, David's own father did not even consider him. He was left in the field forgotten. But what people overlook, God still anoints. What people reject, God still uses. And some of you feel like David, you feel like you've been left out, forgotten, passed over. But just because people don't see you doesn't mean God doesn't have his hand on you. Just because they ignored you doesn't mean you are not chosen. Because when the time is right, when the season shifts, when God calls your name, no amount of rejection can keep you from what he has for you. So let them walk away. Let them doubt you. Let them reject you. Because when God is for you, it does not matter who is against you. When God has called you, no rejection can cancel his plan. When God has anointed you, no amount of opposition can stop what he is about to do in your life. You may not understand it now. You may still feel the sting of rejection, but one day you will look back and thank God for every person who walked away. You will thank him for every door that closed. You will thank him for every no, because you will realize that what you thought was rejection was really redirection. What you thought was abandonment was really God's protection. And what you thought was the end was really just the beginning. Pain has a way of shaping you. It has a way of molding you into something you never thought you could become. Nobody likes pain. Nobody wakes up in the morning and asks God for more of it. But pain is often the very thing that pushes you into purpose. It is often the fire that refines you, the struggle that strengthens you, and the weight that prepares you for the very thing you've been praying for. Some of you are carrying pain so deep that you don't even have the words to describe it. You've been through things that should have broken you. You've survived betrayals that should have left you bitter. You've endured losses that should have destroyed your faith, and yet you are still standing. You are still here. And you may not see it now, but every tear, every sleepless night, every time you felt like giving up, God was using it. He was using it to grow you. He was using it to prepare you. He was using it to push you into a version of yourself that you could have never become without the struggle. Look at Job, a man who had everything only to lose it all in an instant. He lost his family. He lost his wealth. He lost his health. And to make matters worse, the very people who should have encouraged him, his friends, his wife, only made his pain heavier. Some of you know what it's like to suffer alone. You know what it's like to go through things that no one around you understands. And when you try to express it, they dismiss it, they minimize it. They tell you to just move on, just get over it, just pray about it. But pain doesn't work like that. Pain is real. Job had every reason to give up, every reason to curse God and walk away. But what he didn't realize was that even in his suffering, Even in his darkest moment, God had not forgotten about him. And when it was all said and done, when the season of suffering was over, God restored him, not just to where he was before, but double. Twice as much as he lost, twice as much as he suffered. Because when you endure pain the right way, when you hold on to God in the middle of your suffering, there is always a reward on the other side. Some of you have been wondering why life has been so hard, why you've had to fight for everything, why nothing ever seems to come easy. But what if I told you that the pain is proof that God is preparing you for something greater? That the weight you are carrying is the very thing that is making you stronger. That the tears you've cried are watering the seeds of your next season. Some of you have been trying to pray your way out of something that God is using to develop you. You have been asking God to remove the struggle, when the struggle is the very thing that is birthing something in you. Look at David. Before he ever became king, he was in the fields tending sheep, fighting lions and bears, being overlooked by his own family. But every battle, every struggle, every moment of isolation was preparing him for something greater. If David had never fought in the fields, he would have never been ready to face Goliath. If he had never experienced rejection, he would have never learned how to trust God in the cave. And some of you are in your own cave season. You are in a place where it feels like no one sees you, no one values you, no one understands what you're going through. But the cave is not your final destination. It is only a place of preparation. Pain will either make you or break you. It will either push you closer to God or pull you away from him. And the enemy would love nothing more than to use your pain to destroy you, to use your struggles to convince you that God has forgotten about you, that he doesn't care, that he's not listening. But the devil is a liar, because the very thing that was meant to destroy you is the very thing God is going to use to elevate you. Some of you are asking, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why does it have to hurt so much? But the real question is, why not you? Why wouldn't God trust you with this battle? Why wouldn't he use your life as an example of his power? Why wouldn't he take the very thing that was meant to break you and use it to show the world just how strong you really are? The enemy thought he was going to take you out, but what he didn't realize is that you are too anointed to be defeated. You are too chosen to be destroyed. You are too covered to be taken out by this storm. Look at Joseph. He went through pain that he never asked for, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. And yet every single painful moment was pushing him closer to his purpose, because the same Joseph who was rejected was the same Joseph who later stood in a position of power. The same brothers who betrayed him were the same brothers who had to come back to him for help. What they meant for evil, God turned for good. And I want you to know that God is doing the same thing in your life. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every closed door, every betrayal, it is all working together for your good. It may not feel good right now, but when God gets finished with you, when you step into the fullness of what he has prepared for you, you will understand why it had to happen this way. You will look back and thank God for the very things that once brought you pain. Some of you have been asking God to take the pain away. But what if the pain is the very thing that is birthing your next level? What if the struggle is the very thing that is preparing you for your breakthrough? What if the suffering is producing something in you that comfort never could? Because easy seasons don't produce warriors. Comfortable seasons don't birth leaders. If you want to be used by God, you have to be willing to go through the fire. But the good news is, you will not go through it alone. Because even in the fire, he is with you. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fire, but they did not burn. They walked through the flames, but they were not consumed. Because when God has hand on you, no fire can destroy you. No storm can break you. No attack can take you out. And when you come out on the other side, you will not even smell like smoke. People will look at you and have no idea what you've been through. They will see the glory, but they won't know the story. They will see the anointing, but they won't know the pain that birthed him. So hold on. Keep pushing. Keep trusting. Because this pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something greater. And when it is all said and done, you will see that every tear, every struggle, every dark night was worth it. Because God never wastes pain. And if he allowed it, he is going to use it. There is a weight that comes with being chosen. A weight that others do not see. A burden that others do not carry. When God sets you apart, he does not just give you a calling, he gives you a cross. And many people want the calling, but they do not want the cross. They want the promise, but they do not want the process. They want the anointing, but they do not want the assignment that comes with it. Because to be chosen means to be crushed. It means to endure seasons where you feel like you are carrying more than you can handle. It means to walk through valleys that others have to walk through. It means to face battles that others never even see. Some of you have been asking why life has been so heavy, why the weight on your shoulders seems unbearable, why you are always the one that people look to for strength, yet no one seems to check on you. You pour into others, but who pours into you? You encourage everyone else, but who encourages you? You fight for everyone else, but who fights for you? And the truth is, when you are chosen, you will have to learn how to draw strength from God, because there will be seasons where you cannot depend on people. There will be seasons where you cannot wait for someone to come and rescue you. There will be seasons where you will have to stand, even when you feel like collapsing. Jesus carried the weight of his assignment, and he carried it alone. He had disciples, but they could not carry it for him. He had people around him, but they could not bear the burden that was placed upon him. And some of you are trying to get people to carry something that was never assigned to them. You are frustrated because they do not understand what you are going through. You are disappointed because they do not show up the way you expect them to. But the reality is they cannot carry what you were called to carry. They cannot walk where you were called to walk. They cannot handle what you have been anointed to handle. When Jesus went to pray in Gethsemane, he brought Peter, James, and John with him. But while he was sweating drops of blood, they were sleeping. While he was battling in the spirit, they were resting in the flesh. And he said to them, could you not watch with me for 1 hour? Some of you have people in your life who mean well, but they do not have the capacity to go where God is taking you. They love you, but they cannot fight for you. They support you, but they cannot carry the weight that has been placed upon you. And if you are not careful, you will waste time being angry at people who were never meant to understand your struggle. You have been called to a different level. And because of that, you have to stop expecting people to validate something that God has already confirmed. Stop waiting for people to understand what they were never meant to comprehend. Stop seeking approval from those who do not have the spiritual eyesight to see what God is doing in your life. Because the more you seek approval, the more frustrated you will become. The more you try to make people understand, the more you will feel misunderstood. Some things can only be revealed in the spirit. Some things can only be understood through experience. And some things can only be carried by those who have been called to carry them. Moses had an assignment to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt. But the weight of leadership was heavy. He was constantly questioned, constantly challenged, constantly carrying the burdens of people who did not appreciate what he was trying to do for them. And there are some of you who feel the same way. You are trying to help people who do not see your value. You are trying to lead people who fight you every step of the way. You are trying to be obedient to God, yet it feels like everything is working against you. But Moses was not chosen because he was perfect. He was chosen because he was obedient. He was chosen because he was willing to carry something that no one else wanted to carry. You have been given a weight that others cannot see. And it is not because you are being punished. It is because you are being prepared. God is developing something in you that requires endurance. He is building something in you that requires pressure. He is stretching you, refining you, molding you into the person you were always meant to be. But that process is not easy. That process requires you to go through seasons of crushing, seasons of pressing, seasons of feeling like you are at your breaking point. Because the oil does not flow unless the olive is crushed. The anointing does not come without a cost. The weight you carry is proof that you are chosen. The battles you fight are proof that you are dangerous to the enemy. The storms you endure are proof that God has something great in store for you. But you cannot allow the weight to break you. You cannot allow the burden to make you bitter. You cannot allow the struggle to cause you to quit. Because the moment you decide to quit is often the moment right before breakthrough. The moment you feel like you cannot take anymore is often the moment where God is about to shift everything in your favor. David was anointed to be king, but he spent years running for his life. He spent years hiding in caves. He spent years wondering if the promise would ever come to pass. Some of you are in your cave season right now. You know what God spoke over your life, but everything around you looks like the opposite. You know what he promised, but you feel further away from it than ever before. But just because it has not happened yet does not mean it is not going to happen. Just because you cannot see it does not mean God is not working. Just because you are carrying a heavy weight does not mean you are carrying it alone. God never calls you to something without equipping you for it. He never gives you a burden without giving you the grace to carry it. And some of you have been praying for God to take the weight away when he's saying, I have given you the strength to bear it. You have been asking him to remove the struggle when he is saying, I am using the struggle to shape you. You have been begging him to change your situation when he is saying, I am using your situation to change you. The weight of being chosen is not easy. It will isolate you. It will stretch you. It will test you. But it will also elevate you. It will also position you. It will also push you into a level of purpose that you never imagined. And when you finally step into the fullness of what God has called you to, when you finally see the manifestation of everything he has spoken, you will look back and realize that every burden, every trial, every sleepless night was worth it. Because the weight was never meant to break you, it was meant to build you.